prepared before anything starts to work. There are many tricks to get engagement before people start doing work and to buy into the plans before work starts getting done.
Well, depends which way you mean. If you're talking about on project, oh sorry, John, go through.
Hello?
Depends which way you're talking about. If you're talking about on projects, yeah, there are certain ways. You know, we were sort of saying earlier about different procurement routes and different engagement processes with the supply chain. We put in the contracts, in the appointment documents, that that's what we want, that's how we want it to work. And with our consultants as well, we create the BIM execution plan and we agree it with them, and that's also put in the contracts. So that way we make sure everyone's engaged through contractual obligation to deliver the information.
Any different, Michelle?
No. Well, it's about being upfront first, put it, you know, what your plans are, and getting everything down on the BEP, and then, like you say, put it in the contract, and that's the way it gets delivered. Yeah.
Any other questions? Suzanne, Barbara, sorry. Just Ralph and then I'll. No, sorry.
This is really a question about engaging with your supply chain, and obviously when you get down to the, you know, to the smaller guys, the plumbers, the tradesmen, whatever, and you know, potentially companies that have to produce information but don't have the capability. Do you find as a main contractor you having to provide a lot of support, or in general people sort of stepping up to the mark?
So again, it depends on, going through the assessment process, we find out what our supply chain is capable of. And when I was talking about earlier about with BIM, like only part of our deliverables is the 3D information. That's only like a part of the BIM process, if you like. So what we do is we assess our supply chain, see what they're capable of doing, and then we do assist them and help them with parts that they can't do. But we have ways and means and processes of getting the information that we need and putting it into our common data environment. Like with the site mobility, with the smart iPads or Androids on site, people can plug the information straight in. We can also ask for, when we get the contract with them, we can say, right, we want this information from you. Doesn't matter how it comes to us, but then we'll then manipulate that information into our system. So it's a bit of it's a team effort.
I suppose a related question is you know, there's been some comment from our own government that they don't want to implement them, but, you know, because of the negative effect, sort of the lower end of the market. Just wondered if you have any thoughts on that sort of attitude.
Again, it depends what we mean by that, because when we look at smaller practices that are now achieving far greater things, like David Miller Architects, that are doing massive projects and achieving really good stuff using BIM processes, they would be, I suppose, a smaller part of the industry, and they're now competing with a lot bigger architectural practices. And it is possible to achieve a lot more. Like we mentioned earlier in my background, I've been working in BIM environment and achieving a lot more than one person could have done using traditional methods before, working in very small practices. So I think it swings and roundabouts. So when you're talking about trades though, we've actually got some of the people in our supply chain actually modelling block work now. So they model the block work and decide or take from our model where all the holes are going to go through, and so they don't have to do any cutting of blocks on site, and they're saying they're getting massive benefits from it because they just turn up on site and lay the blocks in the order and don't have to do any cutting. So it depends how you work BIM to work for you. I think if you expect a plasterer to come and model all these walls, I think that is probably asking too much. I don't know where the value is for that. I think it always comes down to what is the value of what you're doing and making BIM work for you rather than being forced to do something that's not valuable, if that makes any sense.
Question for the panel there. Congratulations on your presentations as well. I'm curious to know, have you guys noted or experienced any changes in the alignment of design fees as a result of your implementation? Okay.
Yes and no. I think that it depends on the project and it depends on the team, and it depends on the engagement as well. I think with the new way of working, like you were talking about earlier, it's all about teamwork, and so it's a bit of give and take. So we've noticed some clients are paying more for some things, some are expecting to pay less, and it seems to be a bit of, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but they're pretty much the same. But it is, The trouble is because we're coming out of a post-economic recession, that fees have dropped down anyway. So it's hard to gauge whether it's that's making them lower or what. So it depends on which project it is, I think.
Do you have any experience?
Yeah, ultimately, it wasn't done for it. Yeah, it has to be said there is some increase, but you have to weigh that up. The output is more beneficial, as we were. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of our design and build projects would be a greater cost to provide BIM models and work in the BIM environment, but then that is balanced against the outputs and what we achieve and the savings. So there might be initial cost, but that's far outweighed then in the benefits that we achieve, such as reduction in the construction program, handing over a building that is very compliant in terms of quality parameters, and handing over a building that's more sustainable and has reduced life cycle costs for the client. So I suppose it's maybe a small fee we're talking about here, and in the greater scheme of things, it's the overall benefit, I think, far outweigh the initial cost.
Any other questions? John?
Hi, a question to Jack. Jack, I'm John Hunt from Enterprise Ireland. Some of the client requirements around 7D, you mentioned a couple of projects. How clear is the information and data requirement from some of the client groups that you've worked with in terms of setting a brief to be able to structure the data through the construction process and at the end of construction to hand over? And are they clear in terms of, I know you've got the ZooTech platform, which is very important, but how early in the process are you thinking about the data and information and getting that requirement out of the client?
As soon as we're brought on board, so as soon as we think about entering the project, we're thinking about what data is required. We've always got to think ahead, massively ahead. When you're working in a BIM environment, you need to know what you want to deliver at the end. Information from the clients varies dramatically. Some are really BIM aware, some are very just BIM keen, and some have no idea what BIM is at all but still want it. So it's difficult with the clients, but that's where the PAS, with that process of engagement through the pre and post contract vet, and as they were saying earlier about informing the client about what they want. So they'll say that we want to use 7D, but not necessarily know what it means. So we'll then enter a discussion with them. The key part for us is, I know we mentioned Kobe earlier. Kobe is obviously demanding everything is put into a spreadsheet. Whereas if it's not a government project, we can speak to the clients and say, well, what do you want to use this information for? Right, you want to use it for pre-planned maintenance schedules or building maintenance schedules or maintaining the building. Okay, what are your maintainable assets? What are you going to be using in the project? Using in your asset to maintain? We can tag all those, and so we then know at the end they're the assets they want to use within their building that they want to maintain. So that's the information we need to be able to maintain it. So then we'd ask our subbies, etc., M&E consultants to supply us with that information, which is then put in the model or connected through ZooTech or another equivalent system.
Thank you. And while I've got the mic, can I ask another question?
Yes.
I was going to say no, because I've got the mic. Thank you, Jack. A question as well, the uptake and adoption of BIM through the supply chain, I'm thinking more in terms of construction and design, is, it's up and down across the UK. In terms of your requirements for a supplier to be at a certain level, to be able to provide information or objects in a certain format to meet requirements of your contract, are you finding, again, also in a market that's short on supply, is it restricting your choice of supply chain partners at all?
I suppose it could, but it comes back to that sort of ethos of teamwork. So when we assess our supply chain, we don't assess them to then knock them down. We assess them to see where they're at, and if they're not very BIM aware, we ask them to be completely honest. They'll tell us where they're at in their BIM journey. And if they're not at the top or they're midway, we can still use them. You know, and we'll work with them to develop their skills, so we can provide them with, you know, interactive training or bring them in to see what's going on and lift them up. So it doesn't necessarily, the assessments aren't used to sort of knock people down. They're used for us to help them and for them to help us both get the project delivered.
And so I'm just taking Ralph's point to the next level up, I suppose. If you've got a mechanical or an electrical contractor with a supply chain, you're looking to bring real, say, objects into the model as opposed to a generic object. Have you felt a lag or a time as the supply chain is perhaps the tier 2 is saying, well, look, okay, we've got to do this as well, and we haven't done it before in this format or in this way. Are you building that into a sort of a program, or how do you manage that?
I think I understand the question. So we have the design consultant for create their M&E model, which, like I say, can contain generic objects, and then when the subcontractor comes on board and they put in their real elements, if you like, their real actual sizes, it's quite a exciting process, because it often brings up loads more problems because things aren't the way the same size as they designed them. So again, it depends on the supply chain, or whether or not they can supply that information, or whether we have to try a different route, which is something I'd really suggest to everybody, is that with BIM it's not one size fits all. Every project is different, every supplier is different, every client is different. And so if things aren't, say a supplier can't supply us with their actual sizes and put that in the model, we have other ways of going about it by putting the actual size through our design, through our check-in software. We can have an actual size offset from the original element to show what it could be like. So there's different ways of going about it. Does that answer the question?
It has, but it's led to another one.
Oh gosh.
Sorry. So there is an iterative process as you work through a project, providing information into the model in anticipation of a slightly, maybe a slightly different process, a slightly lengthened process by bringing a company to bring the project in a way. How do you build that in? Is there an early engagement with some of the key subcontractors to try and sort of avert use program risk?
Yeah, so the best way would be to be brought on as soon as possible, as early as possible. That's always the best way. Like on 22BG, we've been really lucky to have been brought in so early as a contractor. And it's been fantastic. It's meant that we can achieve so much more. And we've brought in our subcontractors in a lot earlier as well. You know, they're on board as well before the design, you know, is fully finished. And the earlier you can get on the project, and the more leading time you can have, the better.
With early stage engagement with your supply chain is absolutely key.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions, Ron?
Thank you.
Are you finding that more common now? There's a lot more involvement. Is it more common occurrence that you're getting involved in your project?
I'd say again, it's like there's not one size fits all. It's a big mix. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, and it depends on the clients as well and the project. But yeah, we are seeing it becoming more often, or more. We are seeing it happen more, but also what we're seeing happen more is that clients are becoming more aware as well of the situation, how this can benefit them more.
Tom, Michelle, I don't know if you've any thoughts on if early engagement is happening a bit more frequently?
Yeah, at CITA Company we have very experienced building services managers, and under those sits services coordinators, mechanical and electrical, and commissioning managers. So what we do then is we wouldn't preclude any subcontractor just because they're not being enabled. Our services team, for example, provide BIM workshops and bring them, as Jack said, up to the required level of skill set. So what we do there then is we'd help them and we train them, we show them how to work a model, and we show them how to input, say, a particular piece of M&E or whatever the case may be, and then we'd ask them, can you do the next situation, or can you, and get them to use the model. And you find, what we're finding is these guys are very, very, someone can be very, very experienced, and all of a sudden within 3-4 weeks or whatever they're up to speed. So it's all about, as Jack says, teamworking and collaboration, and I think it's very wrong to preclude anyone, because what you'll find is maybe the next guy that is at the same level. You know, so what we do is it's all about teamwork, and it's all about workshops. And as Jack said, early engagement is absolute key here, that we engage with these right from day one. So we start the commissioning process right from day one, and we integrate the commissioning plan and the commissioning program. It started right from day one. So we're at this at a very, very early stage, and that gives us the time then to bring the required level of skill set on with regard to these subcontractors up to the required level. And we find that the early engagement is key. If you leave it late on the process, well then there's too many pressures. So all this can be happening from day one with our building services team. And then our other disciplines carry out the same processes as well. So I think that's the way over the hurdle, team working and helping each other, and that's what delivers. It's the same thing. If you weren't working through a BIM environment, it'd be the same thing, the same way we go about things. So it's all about the early engagement, as Jack says, and helping them and not excluding anybody. I think it would be wrong, and that's the way we go about it.
Any further questions?
Thank you. Just a quick question for Jack. Jack, in your presentation you showed the use of the model on site. Can you just give us a quick flavour of how that's operating?
Yeah, okay. So on site we have the smart boards, which are interactive whiteboards. They're not projectors, they're a lot more than that. You can write on there, draw on them, all that sort of stuff. And on site we use them for things like toolbox talks, so you can have your model shown on there, like the tender model that we showed. You can show like the safe access routes. If there's like a dangerous point on the site, that flashes up. Rather than just talking about it on induction, you can actually show the model, and that will show hotspots, if you like, on the site. They're also used for coordination meetings on site. So we'll go through the model on the board, and we'll mark up on there, and the text embeds in the model as well. We also use them for, if you want me to explain as well, with the iPads which you use on site. So you have your model on site, and you can scroll through and you can drop in a tag and snag, things like that. I think what else we use them for? We use them for quite a bit. But pretty much any meeting that we have on site, we use the models and the smart screens just to explain in more detail what's happening on the project. Because not everybody can read a 3D drawing. That's a common misconception. Everybody understands a 3D drawing, and I might understand it differently to the next person. Whereas when it's in 3D, you can't not understand it. It is a 3D representation of the environment.
Are you finding that the construction operatives themselves are actually using the model rather than management?
Yes, so we have on site, you have the sort of, if you like, project management office, and then the construction office. So the construction office is where there are smart screens as well, and they're used on a daily basis. The models aren't used as much by the operatives always, but they use the drawings on the screen, so everyone can stand there and look at the drawings and mark it on and see what they want to change or what they want to do. But yeah, they are using them.
Okay, thank you.
You have a slide up there as well, Jack, with the OR7 and augmented reality. Is that something that you've done a lot of, or
Which bit, sorry?
some 3D goggles or 3D viewers?
Our 3D models, 3D viewers. Yeah, we've tried it. I don't think it's that ready just yet. It's just more of like a test and trial. But other people are using it. Some of our competitors are using it as well for much more exciting things. Personally, I don't see the value for what we're doing at the moment and how we want to deliver on projects. But they are being used by other construction companies for things like end user engagement. So they'll bring them in and put the headsets on, and they'll be moving around and moving things around in the room to where they want it to be. So other people are using it, but for us, no.
Any other further questions? No. One and then one here. Just one here first.
I was just wondering how your supply chain integrates with your common data environment. Is there any resistance there? And how do you get them to put the right information in the right place?
I would suggest that any change is met with resistance, and anything new is met with resistance. I think it's a common human trait. Yeah, we do have some resistance, but we have training, and we have document controllers on site to assist. And the iPads or Android tablets have been really useful, because people seem to be able to use them a lot better than sitting at a computer screen. They seem to be able to upload data a lot more comfortably. So that's been really helpful. That seems to get less resistance than working on if you like, on a computer and uploading data. But common data environments are difficult to manage, I would suggest, and that they need to be managed properly. And how people use them needs to be managed very properly as well. But we have like an audit process, so people can put things in. There's always someone there to contact as well.
Just a question here.
Following on there from the site operatives, what processes are being in place to ensure that the guys are actually building what is in the model and then feeding back into the whole process.
Sorry.
So on site, to ensure that what's being built on site is actually what is being produced in the model.
Okay, so how do you validate the as-built data?
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, that's an exciting thing to do. So you have your design intent model, that's how you want it to be built. Then what we do on site is there's several ways to do things again, but what I would suggest is the best way is to have, again, the iPads or the tablets, and then if you build something different to the drawing, they can just put on there, it's different, you know, and they can run through the model as well, walk around with the model, looking at what it should look like and say, oh no, that's changed, that's different. So as you're commissioning the rooms, you can go around and sort of look at things as they're going, and sort of tick off whether it's been done right, or if not, you call it up as a snag on the iPad or the tablet.
What we do in this situation is it's all about teamwork again. And we'll say, for example, a block laying subcontractor, we meet with him maybe a month in advance and of him starting on site, and we sit down and have a workshop with them, and we explain exactly what's required. And a critical thing would be the where all the fire stop goes, where all the fire stopping, because what can happen here is that the subcontractor comes on site and there's fire stopping left out, and I don't blame the subcontractor. What's happening here is that he hasn't been explained and it hasn't been set out. But if we help these guys and sit down with them and say, right, this is where we want, you know, the engineer on the site not only sets out the wall, but he marks on the ground where the fire stop is, and is it horizontal, is it vertical, and so on and so forth. So if we explain to exactly what we require prior to them starting on site, and then we meet with the foreman of a particular trade, maybe we bring him in a couple of days before we start on site, everything is set up, blocks are laid out, so on and so forth, and we explain to him where all the opes are in a particular wall, where the fire stops are, such that when they come to build on site, this ensures that there is no mistakes. With regard to the BIM integration, then we're using iPads and BIM 360 Glue to validate what's been done on site. But I don't think it should be used to validate. What we do is prior to we'll say an M&E guy putting in ducts or cable, or an electrical contractor putting in cables, we use the software to show him exactly where things are meant to go and talk him through it, such that when he comes to install it, it's installed in the correct place, and we can validate that then through our 360 Glue app. And we engage with subcontractors then and show them how to use the software, and that helps them to engage with the BIM model further along the line. So I suppose the secret is early engagement and explaining what's required, and this ties in with our zero philosophy of delivering buildings with zero snags at substantial completion, and it ties in with the diversity requirements for soft landings, etc.
Thank you. Just again, I'd like to thank Jack, Michelle, Tom and Michael. I think we got a really good look from Jack's presentation of PAS in real life and how it's implemented. And I think a really detailed look from Tom and Michelle of what actually PAS entails and what's required. Yeah, perfect. I think I started with a quote, so I'll finish with a quote that was emphasised throughout today, is that failing to plan is planning to fail, and I think what we've seen today is that if you don't plan for something, it's definitely going to go wrong, it's definitely not going to go according to what needs to be required. So just like, again, thank Tom, Jack, Tom and Michael, and maybe we should show their appreciation.